Okay. By the way, if we're recording right now, I think this is episode number 30, which is pretty exciting. So we've done like a full 30 episodes of recorded ones, and I haven't even recorded all of them. So we're probably running on 60 days straight of Warrior Hour, which is pretty freaking amazing, especially for those of you guys that have been here since like the beginning. You know, it's like, wow, we've done so much work in the last 2 months. It's pretty freaking awesome. And yesterday in our meeting, we talked about worry and how worry, I mean, I'll just read this, this quote again, but it's like, worry is fear that hasn't grown up yet. It's a misuse of our imagination. We both devalue and insult others when we worry about them. And we talked a lot about that yesterday, about how, I can read a little paragraph. Yeah, absolutely, Tanya. I'm totally down for you reading. That would be fantastic. That'd be awesome. Let me, I'm going to talk about just like recap on yesterday, and then it's all yours. I'm in on that. And yeah, it's a misuse of the imagination, you guys. Worrying, when you can worry and you can create all kinds of things in your head, it's a misuse of our imagination to go to the negative, basically, you know? When we have this amazing imagination and you have the opportunity to create in your head, why aren't we creating images that are positive? Rather than creating all the things that could be negative, why aren't we creating and using our imagination to create all the positive things? Which originally I didn't understand the switch necessarily. I was like, well, I'm just worrying, you know, I have to know of all the possibilities that can happen, you know. I didn't realize that by worrying, I was insulting the other person, right? And so when Mike and I were talking about it last night, he goes, now I understand why I would get so defensive. So we would talk about, so we used to fight a lot about bills and getting bills paid, and our bill's going to be covered, and are we going to have enough money to cover this and cover that? We used to fight a lot about it. And it was because I was worried, right? I was worried our bills weren't going to get covered. Mike took that as defensive. He got defensive when he thought that I didn't have faith that we were going to have our bills paid, because we've always figured it out. I would just worry before it would ever happen, right? So I was sitting here worrying, and he was getting defensive because he took it as an insult, which it is an insult, right? Now we know that. Now that we know that worrying is an insult to somebody, that's why they're getting defensive about it. Because he's like, wait, I always take care of it. We always figure it out. Why don't you have a little more faith in me? And I was like, well, I'm just worried about bills, you know. And I never understood that it was an insult to him that I was worried about our bills, right? Like, it didn't make sense. It never occurred to me. And so we were talking about it last night. We were talking back and forth, and I was like, oh my God, I never realized that's why you always got defensive, is because you took it as an insult that I was worried, because you always figure it out. Like, why wouldn't I just have faith that he could figure it out? Because he always does. But instead I would worry. And then that would create an insult, which would get him defensive. And then we would start fighting. And I didn't understand why we couldn't talk about money. We couldn't talk about money because I was worried about money. Okay. Do you guys see that? And Mike and I, like, we literally sat in the kitchen yesterday after I read it, and we talked through it, and we both were like, oh. He goes, I didn't even realize that's why I was getting defensive. He didn't even realize that he was getting defensive because my worry was an insult. So it was cool for us to even figure that out, you know, like in that moment, we were realizing that I was insulting him, which is why he was getting defensive, which is why we couldn't talk about it. It was like this light bulb going off for us, you know. It was just a really cool moment to find something out in a book, come here with you ladies and talk about it, share it with Mike over here, and find a solution over here, and now bringing it back to you ladies and letting you guys know how it happened, How cool is that, right? Like that's like you literally seeing growth happen in me, right? Like that is the epitome of growth. Understanding something, learning it and teaching it, talking through it, and then making changes in order to have it as a part of your life and to make your life better, right? If I would have had ego, if I would have let my pride get in the way, then I can see.
Oh,
yeah, you can see. I can see you.
Oh, I was just looking.
Oh, I was like, are you gonna tag me?
I felt like a little disrespectful right now.
Why?
You disrespecting me?
No, I'm not disrespecting you.
Disrespecting me?
No, I said that I was good that we worked through some days. You're funny.
What are you doing?
Get out of here. I gotta like kick these boys out of my office. No, he just hears his name over and over. He's like, am I in trouble? He's like, why did I hear the word Mike one too many times? That's funny. So you guys, I like to share those things with you because I don't ever want to be one of those coaches that's like, you need to change, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to work out, you need to eat healthy, you need to change your mind and be positive. Like, I just can't stand that. I'm more like, this is what I'm doing. I'm finding this information helpful. This is how I'm changing my life. This is how I'm changing my relationship. This is how I'm changing my own mindset. Use it as inspiration. Use it as motivation. This is what I'm learning. What are you learning? You know, I'm more of the lead from the front kind of person. I'm the more like, this is what I've changed. This is what I'm doing. I would love it if you would come along with me. If you don't, okay, maybe you're not ready there. Maybe you're not ready for that yet. But when the time comes, you'll recall this time and you'll start to use it eventually, right? So I just like to more teach from my own experiences rather than pointing the finger or trying to fix you guys. I'm just like, this is how I used it. This is what I did. And so, yeah, it was really cool though. It was a really cool moment between Mike and I yesterday. And it only took 15 minutes for me to read that, for us to converse while he was making lunch. And then by the end of the 15 minutes, we were just like, holy crap, mind shift, right? Like change, like I saw what he was seeing and he saw what I was seeing. And we came to this common ground that we realized we were never on that situation. But you guys, that communication is so important. The work is so important before the communication as well. I think that the working through the book myself with Elika the other day, and then coming here yesterday and talking with you guys, and it brought it to the forefront of my mind, and I worked through it way before I took the information to Mike, right? And so that's something that, you know, sometimes we find information and we just want to shove it at people. We want to be like, oh my God, this helps me, it must help you. Sometimes it won't. Sometimes that's just for you. Sometimes other people won't resonate with it. But when you get to those moments where they do resonate with it, it's pretty freaking awesome, right? Like, it's pretty awesome to know that Mike and I can agree upon something that after 8 years, we never even knew was an issue or was part of it, you know? So there's always room for growth. There's always room for more. There's always room for personal development in yourself, with your family, with your partner, with your life, with your spouse, your coworkers. You can apply this to anybody and everybody. Never know. You just never know. All right, ladies. Tennille, I would love if you want to read, if you have something specific that you wanted to read. I'm in on that. I just don't see her face.
Here
So,
I am.
oh, there she is.
So
I'm going to mute myself.
I've been reading The Purpose-Driven Life. I don't know if you guys have ever read it. Oh, you're okay. Here. Let me hold you. Okay. So it's just a real quick paragraph. I'm actually going to read it tonight at our coach meeting too. But it's just like with worry or like even with like addiction or like a struggle in your life. Okay, so, okay, it says, don't repress it, confess it. Don't conceal it, reveal it. Revealing your feeling is the beginning of your healing. Hiding your hurt only intensifies it. Problems grow in the dark and become bigger and bigger. But when exposed to the light of truth, they shrink. You are only as sick as your secrets. So take off your mask, stop pretending you're perfect, and walk into freedom. So I just wanted to share that this morning because y'all know me. I am an open book. Like, I have done some things. I have struggled. You know, I'm not perfect, but I wasn't always like that. Like, I wasn't always open to everybody else. But I've become open because I know other women struggle. Okay, and if I'm open about my struggles, I know I'm going to reach those women that are struggling still. So don't be scared to open up. Okay, nobody's perfect. We're all struggling in our own way. So I just encourage you today to help one another out. Share your struggles sometimes. Maybe share the small ones. Like, oh my gosh, I ate a piece of chocolate today and I didn't want to. You know, or share the big struggles. You know, but whatever it is, try to find the heart and the willpower to share it, and then you will shine bright in that light.
Dude, Neil, I love that. What was, okay, don't conceal it, reveal it. Is that it? I need to write that down.
Okay. It says, don't repress it, confess it. Don't conceal it, reveal it. And then it says, revealing your feeling is the beginning of your healing.
Dude, that's some truth bomb right there.
Well, and like warrior hour, you know, we've been doing this for how long? We know each other, you know, we're so far into this, we feel like we're connected at the hip. Like, even though you're in Florida Keys, like, we all know each other's struggles, I feel like, just by a head nod, you know? So, like, I feel like this is the perfect time to share it on here. It's because we are all open, but we're open to help one another, not to be ashamed.
Right? Yeah, like, that's the interesting part, I think. Like, once you kind of get over the shame, your self-shame of what you think your life should be looking like to other people, right? Like, once you get over that fact of just like, I need to look a certain way to other people, for other people, not even for yourself, it's for other people, right? Like, when you lie or try to hide who you are because you're afraid that they're going to see you a certain way. But you know, it's funny. So I'm going to read this other little paragraph that I have that's in the book that I've read to you guys, but it's going to go right along with what Tennille was saying. So I think it maybe can kind of help us all too. Okay. So Lucille Clifton once said, every pair of eyes facing you has probably experienced something you could not endure. Every human being walking this earth has painful stories tucked in the corner of their hearts. If we could remember this truth, perhaps we could see with the eyes of compassion rather than the eyes of our own judgments and preferences. Right? Like if we could just remember that every face that you see on this call has experienced something you could probably never even imagine, right? Like, think of all the things that you could probably list the things right off the top of your head, the things that you could be like, damn, I've done this, I've survived this, I've survived this. You could go through all of those. Hey, I see males. I see a male. Male alert. No, I'm just kidding. It was Jenna's husband, I figured. But you guys, for real, it's like, if we could just really be compassionate for other people, remembering and reminding ourselves that every single one of us have been through something that the other could probably never imagine going through, right? Like, I know some of you guys, oh no, it's seriously, Jenna, it's so funny. It's totally fine. Do you have to say sorry? If anything, you guys know Mike just pops in here whenever he wants to, or Derek pops in whenever he wants to, so it's totally fine. But I think sometimes when we just have compassion, like, just remember that word, like, throughout the day, like, what kind of compassion can you have for your child, right? Like, right now, I tend to get a little frustrated sometimes with Derek, but if I remembered and had a little compassion for the fact that he's an only child and he's been stuck in this house with his mom for 60 days, I'd have a little more compassion, right? Like, if I just put myself in his shoes and he only gets to stare at my face all day, I'd probably be a little annoyed too. Right? Like, if we just had a little bit more compassion for our husbands who still have to go out and work in all of this and come home and come to the families, like, if we just had a little bit more compassion about what it's like to be out there compared to in here, or vice versa, you know, maybe they could have a little more compassion for what it's like to be stuck in this house day after day after day. You know, if we just had a little more compassion for each other, man, I think that this would be a much easier situation to deal with. I think that if we just stopped assuming certain people need to be doing certain things, if we just were a little bit more compassionate, a little bit more forgiving, a little bit more open, a little bit more soft, right? Like, maybe we could actually have something come out of that would have never happened had we been yelling, right? So I even did it yesterday where Derek and I were kind of like, we were getting to this point where I was like, dude, you either need to take a nap or, like, we need time apart. Like, I just can't, I'm at this point where I'm just getting really frustrated and, like, you're not listening and we're arguing. And I literally had this little voice in my head. It was so crazy. And I even messaged Elika about it because I was like, that was weird. I had this little voice in my head that just said, do no harm. That's all it said. Do no harm. Like, I don't know, like, where it came from. I mean, I knew that I was, like, reading this and, like, part of nonviolence and part of worrying is all violence. And I was like, how can I, and then I had, like, so it was like, you know, do no harm. Okay. So I instantly was like, how can I diffuse the situation? That's all I could think of. Instead of escalating, how can I just diffuse this situation? And I literally just picked up Derek, I set him on the bed, and I sat beside him, and we just talked. He was, like, a little, like, off at first, you know, he was kind of like, and I was like, Derek, I honestly just want to talk to you. Are you okay? Is everything okay? Are you hungry? Do you need something? Like, I just decided to be compassionate, right? Instead of, oh, I'm so frustrated, I just can't get you to do what I want, just go to your room, I don't want to see you. You know what I mean? Like, instead of going there, I just thought, how can I do no harm? Like, how can I just do no harm right now? And it diffused the situation. And I just thought that was really interesting because I was like, it just felt a lot better in my heart too, you know? It just felt better on my chest to think, how can I just diffuse the situation and do no harm, rather than how can I prove my point? How can I just stick to my tough mom part right now? You know, I was just like, what does he really need right now? Compassion, you know, because maybe he's going through more than what I even know about. And actually, during the conversation, come to find out, his wrist was bothering him. I don't know what happened, but he was just like, it hurts when I do this. And I was like, well, Bob, you gotta talk to me. How long has it been hurting? And he's like, a couple days. And I'm like, what? Like, what did you do? What happened? And then we started talking, you know, and it was like, had I not diffused that situation, I probably would have never found out about his wrist. And maybe that's why he was acting out, is because his wrist was hurting and he's 5 and he doesn't know how to just say that and explain that. And so he was acting out. Like, I would have never known that, you know, had I not diffused the situation. Can't say that's going to happen every time, but I'm going to actively continue to try, right? Like, we're not going to be perfect. We're not going to be the best mom every single time, but I'm going to try, right? Like, what else do I got to do? I could at least continue to try. And I think as we continue trying, we're going to get better and better, right? That's why they always say, like, the second kid is almost easier than the first kid, is because you learn all these, like, things that you probably shouldn't be doing with the first one. You're like, oh, that didn't work. Next one will be a lot better, right? They always like, they get easier. You find out like what works and doesn't, but then what would happen is what works for a boy doesn't work for a girl. And so then you go, oh shit, I was doing all of this and now I gotta change it all anyway. And every kid's probably different, so who knows? But I don't know.
No, it's when you get outnumbered.
Yeah.
When you get outnumbered, it's good luck. Zone defense is what I call it.
Like survival mode, right? I can imagine being outnumbered, especially, girl, I don't know how you do it. You said 3 under 3, 3 under 4. Whew. Man, that's crazy talk. You were like, I can only imagine though, like when your kids are older, like how fun is that gonna be? I mean, I know that it's chaos right now, but like I love having siblings. I think I totally am robbing Derek of siblings, and it's like a personal thing that I'm going through. But I know when siblings are so important, and like your kids having siblings and growing up with siblings, and like when they're older, it's going to be really nice for them. So just try to remember that. That's what I always say, is like try to focus on they're going to be awesome when they're older. It's going to be awesome because then they can have kids and you can have grandkids. You can have like this whole big family all by yourself. It's just so super cool. And so it's just like focus on the long haul, right? Not the everyday issues. Try to focus more on the long haul. Yeah, you'll get over it. That's funny. Oh goodness, ladies. So let me see if I can find something else. We have about 15 more minutes. Let me see if I can find something else that I thought would be really interesting. Unless somebody else had something that they wanted to talk to you about worrying from yesterday. Did anybody else have any experiences with worrying yesterday? That'd be cool to hear. No, that's all right.
I don't have any experiences, but I have this, I've like kind of prided myself on not ever being a worrier, because somebody said something to me one time about worrying and it like just really stuck with me and made sense. And I'm like, yeah, duh, why would I worry all the time? So the quote was, worrying is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but doesn't get you anywhere. So I love that quote.
I love that. That's so true. Like just rocking back and forth. Like you're so.
It just like occupies you. It occupies your mind, gives you something to do, but it's not like beneficial to you at all. And like I used to like think about that like before I'd go in for a job interview. And it's like, you're going to do the best that you can do. Yes, you can be nervous, but don't worry about it. Like it's going to work out the way it's supposed to work out, and just do your best. And like worrying just makes it worse for you. So gives you something to do, but doesn't get you anywhere.
Dude, that makes so much sense. And like, and even, sorry, I was like processing that in my head and trying to think about it and how I want to say it. So even when you put it towards worrying of like what we've learned, you're insulting yourself in a way. You're doubting yourself because you don't think that you have all the tools necessary to come to this interview. You know what job you're doing, you're qualified, you know what you're going to say, you be confident in yourself. And when you're confident in yourself, you shouldn't worry about yourself, because that would be an insult, right? Like you would be insulting yourself to worry about whether you're not getting that job. But if you took yourself seriously and if you were confident in who you were, that shouldn't be an issue, right? Like, so that's kind of interesting, even just like pulling it into what we learned yesterday and kind of tying it in is like, why would you worry about not getting a job interview or something like that? Because you're only insulting yourself. And then when you're insulting yourself, you're basically talking negative to yourself in your head without even knowing it. And then what kind of, energy are you taking into a job interview, right? Now you're so worried. And so now that energy it's there, right? Whether you're trying to play it off or not, that energy is there. They know you're worried. They know you're intimidated. They know you're maybe out of your character or element, or, your comfort zone. But if you went into it, say, you know what, this is who I am. I'm confident in who I am. If I don't get the job, that's fine. That's fine. If they don't see the value that I bring to the table, then they're not people I want to work for anyway. Right? And so instead of worrying, how can we step up into faith and love and say, you know what, I have faith that if this job is right for me, they will choose me and I will get the position. If not, who knows what's good or bad? Maybe I dodged a bullet. Maybe those owners are crazy and I actually just dodged a bullet by not working for them, and it left the opportunity open, so now I can take this job. Right? You never know what's good or bad. So why worry? It's funny, like how I never really thought of this before. I don't know. Is anybody else like eye-opening to the whole worry situation? It's not that I'm like a worry wart, but I never realized how much of an insult it is to myself, to the people around me, to my confidence. And it's a negative mindset.
I had to repeat it to myself yesterday, like several times. I had to keep trying to reprocess the statement in my head that I was like insulting somebody. But like, I got to thinking about it, and I don't really worry about people like that I care about. Like when the hurricane happened, I didn't worry about you. I didn't really worry about me. We just did what we had to do. I evacuated. I took my kids and I left. You did what you had to do. Same thing. I didn't worry about you. I didn't worry about me. It happened. So, and I mean, I care and I want to know that you do well, but I trust like intrinsically that you're going to do what needs to be done. So it just was hard. The wording, I don't know.
That's interesting. That's really cool though. You had faith that I was going to be okay. You had faith that you knew what to do and that you were going to be okay. So you're stepping up instead of being like, oh my God, I hope Jenny's going to be okay. Are we going to be okay? Oh, my kids, where are we going to go? What are we going to do? You could sit there and do all that. Or you could say, oh, I know exactly where I can go. I'll pack up my kids. We'll grab some bags. I know exactly where we can go to be safe. I know Jenny's going to be okay because she's smart and she's going to go here. And I know my Aunt Bonnie wouldn't let her, experience any harm or anything like that. Or I know we've got family in the area, so it should be fine. She's going to be fine. Right? Like you step up into faith. You can't have fear and worry and faith and love at the same time. You can't say, oh, I worry about them so much and they're going to be fine. Like it doesn't exist, right? Like you either believe people are going to be fine or you worry about whether they're going to be fine. So it's
But
one
can't-
or the other.
So you can't
And,
still love the people that you worry about that you don't trust. So like think about the addicts in your life. I feel like when you completely separate them, you're saying that you don't love them too. You can still worry. I feel like you can still worry about those people, but you don't have faith that they're going to do well by themselves, because how can you? But you can still love those people. So there's a fine line, I feel like, because you have to, I mean, you can't completely separate it, because there are people in your life that you're not going to trust that are going to do well. And you're going to, I mean, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think those people, you kind of have to create like a barrier of protection, to be honest. If you find yourself not trusting somebody or worrying about them, I really would take a step back and analyze that. Be like, why don't I trust this person? Why don't I trust their best? Maybe it's because they have never shown you, you know, they've never done any, like, why would I trust them when they've never given me anything to trust? You know, they've always fallen through. They've never went through on what they said they were going to do. Then I would honestly, to be honest, I would analyze if that's a person you need in your life. You know, do you want people in your life that you have to worry about and distrust? Right? Like, should they even be in your circle?
I
Just
guess
something
from an
to-
I guess from an addict's point of view, you want to be able to get people to build you up to that point. And so it's going to take time of distrust for people to trust you. And so I would want somebody to give me a chance. So
yeah.
just from another point of view. So no, I wouldn't want people to give up on me.
Well, I don't think anybody would have to give up on you, but you would have to prove it. You know, if you have been distrustful ever, which we all have been, right? Like, we're all growing. So we've all done things that we shouldn't have, right? But I think when we're creating worry, it's making the situation worse, right? It's not a growth mindset. And so when we become a trustful person in ourselves, that allows other people to trust us also. So I think it just starts with ourselves. We can't worry about ourselves. We have to trust ourselves. We have to be confident in ourselves. And that will start to prove to other people we're trustworthy. They don't need to worry about me anymore, because I'm confident in myself that I can take care of myself. And so maybe it starts with ourselves, right? It starts with like inside, not even necessarily worrying about other people all the time, but how can we stop worrying about ourselves and trust our own self intuition? And I think as we start to trust ourselves, other people will start to see that too. Cara, or Tennille, I see a little hand here.
So let me lower my hand. Like the transformation, like I know some, you know, there might be some girls on this call, they're like, oh my gosh, I worry all the time. How in the world am I supposed to change that? Like, really? You just, oh, don't worry anymore. Well, no, that's not going to happen. So here's a couple little tools maybe to help you with that. We're slow learners. Like, us humans are slow learners. Okay, yeah, go do your homework. So you have to realize that. Like, it's not going to happen overnight. The transformation, just like working out, just like building confidence, just like going to school, like, it's going to take time. So it's not going to happen overnight. We're slow learners. So don't get frustrated. And then we have to unlearn. Okay, you have to switch it. Okay, you have to unlearn the habit of when something happens, oh, my kid's sick. Oh my gosh, I'm worried. What's going to happen? Like, are they going to get antibiotic? Are they going to, you know, have to, like, you know, it can spiral. You guys know that. But have to unlearn your habits. And then, and growth. It's painful and it can be scary, okay, to change, to transform, okay, because it's a habit. And what happens when we have habits? They're comfortable. We feel like we're comforted, you know, thinking that way, worrying, because we're used to it. Okay, so it is going to be painful to switch it. And it is going to be scary, but it's going to be worth it, okay? And then habits take time. Just like I said, you know, we're slow learners. It's going to take time to switch it and not worry about different situations, but maybe think positive about that situation. So if you're on here and you're like, oh my gosh, I worry all the time, like, how do I do this? Well, you can do it, but it's going to take some time and some dedication.
Dude, I love that. Unlearning what we know as truth, and maybe just even admitting, okay, this isn't serving me. You know, I think that's the hardest part right there. Like just saying, oh man, I'm, you know, like, or just admitting like, oh, I didn't handle that the best, or oh man, I did worry. When you can start catching yourself, that's, I feel like, when you can start making the transition. Like, that's like why I told you guys about the conversation with Mike, is like, I realized I was worrying about him and it wasn't serving us any purpose. I'd been doing that for years. I had been worrying about him and it's been affecting our relationship. I didn't know that was an issue. I didn't know that was a problem until it was brought to the surface. And now I'm like, holy crap. Like, and I still naturally want to worry about our bills. And I've only found out this information 3 days ago, right? Like, it's so new to my brain that I'm like cranking it, right? And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, how am I supposed to stop this? And Tennille is exactly right. It's going to take time. This is a whole different way of thinking. It's going to take time to let go of how I used to think. And I'm probably going to fight it. And I'm probably going to try and hang on to it and justify it, right? I'm probably going to try and say, well, I worried that time because of this. I'm going to try and justify it and say, well, there was a legit reason as to why I worried here. But if I was honest with myself, there's never a good time to worry, because it never creates what I want it to, right? So we have to be willing to say, that's not working for me, right? We have to be willing to let that go, regardless of how long I did it, and say, you know what, I just need to let that go. And I need to be willing to take the time to learn something new. I need to give myself some grace and some compassion to learn something new. It's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard. It's hard already. I almost hate the fact that I know it, because it's like festering in my freaking brain. But I know I need to work through it. I know that on the other side of worry is love and faith. And so I'm going to have to work through this crap to get to the other side, right? Which is hard. Alicia, I see this big old thing over here, so I'm going to read it. Give me a second. Situation when I get to really interesting. No, that's not crazy. I would be super upset. Oh gosh, that is such an interesting situation. How do we not worry in that situation? I have no idea. And like, this is exactly the part where I'm saying it's gonna create turmoil, right? Like, when you start learning new things and you're gonna be like, how am I not supposed to worry in this situation where my daughter is in a situation where I'm not comfortable with? You know, there's gonna be parts where we're gonna be like, so how am I not supposed to worry now, Jen? How am I not supposed to do this now? You know? And you can cuss me, it's totally fine, because I brought it to your attention. But I don't have all the answers, but that's an interesting time to evaluate it, to say, okay, if worry isn't going to get me anywhere, how else can I approach this? How can I rattle my brain? How can I flip this? You know?
That's where I'm confused, though, because like in her situation, it's like, do you cut off your parents because they did something you didn't like and it made you worry?
I don't know. I don't know.
I think in situations like that, like as a parent, like that's my child.
Yeah.
Like, how dare you? you know? But like that's I wouldn't feel worried. I would just be like, you know the situation, you know what's going on. Like, that's my child. I trust you to take care of her. And then you're, you know, allowing other people around her. Like, I wouldn't necessarily worry about that. I would just be mad, honestly, you know, because worried about it, I mean, what's worrying going to do? Just like Becky said, you're just going to sit there and worry about it. And that's not going to do anything, you know? Like, okay, you can worry. Okay, she might get sick. Okay, then what? If she is sick, what are you going to worry about now? Okay, does she need to get on antibiotic? Does she need breathing treatments? Okay, she gets that stuff. Okay, now she's on breathing treatments. I'm going to worry, when is she going to get better? You know, it will just keep going. But just handle the situation, approach your mother. You have to release it. Let her know how you feel. Okay, and then move on. I mean, there's nothing you can do to change that situation. It already happened. Release it. Allow yourself to tell her how you feel. And then just move on. That's my advice.
I love that. Speak your truth. The truth shall set you free. You know, and that's what I would do. I would absolutely be like, you can be upset, right? Worry isn't going to like saying, oh, I'm so worried about my daughter. I'm so worried. Right. It's not going to solve the situation. It's not going to diffuse the situation. But if you speak your truth and say, I do not approve of this. I'm not allowing this. Either you follow the rules that I would have required for my daughter, or you're going to have to wait to see her. You know, and I don't mean there may be like other reasons. I'm sure that there's a million things you're like, I have to have her watch them because you're going to work. And I'm sure like all of those factors, you know, will chime in. And I would hope that your parents would also understand where you're coming from and say, I understand. We're sorry. We didn't realize. You know, I would hope that that's maybe the answer that you would get. Who knows? But then you handle it as it comes. And I would say, absolutely speak your truth. Don't hold that on your heart, right? Because what does that do? That creates worry. That creates spiraling in your head. And so it's best to just speak up and say, you know, I'm not okay with this. And it may be hard. Your heart might pound. You might get anxiety about, you know, speaking up. But the more you do it, the easier it will become. And actually the quicker too. I think sometimes when we stew on it, it gets worse. And just speaking about it can kind of help you work through it yourself, you know, or maybe ask them, be like, what was your reasoning? Like, why are you having my child around other kids? Like, you know, like, do you know if they're okay? Like, you know what I mean? I would just maybe talk with them and have a conversation, because you may get a side of something that you didn't know either from them, you know? So definitely reveal your truth, because you're going to feel a lot better. Even if the situation is a hard situation to talk about or something like that, I still say reveal it, because that makes sense. It's the easiest to get it out of your chest, you know? And then you guys can work through it rather than just letting it hang. And so like to answer Kristen, like, I don't think that you need to like cut people off and never have them in your life again. Like, that's not necessarily what I mean, but maybe you need to put your foot down. Maybe you need to say, I'm her mom. And I know you're my mom, but that's my daughter. She came out of my body. Like Tennille said, like, that's my daughter. And I know you're grandparents, but I will cut you off until social distancing is over if you can't abide by my rules for my daughter. And maybe because that's never been set in stone with them, they never really even took you seriously, right? Like, maybe we need to become more confident in our own mommying and saying, that's my freaking daughter, and I'll make the rules up for her. And once they see you're dead serious about that, they'll start taking you more seriously and be like, you know, I don't want to not see my daughter. And Alicia, she sounded freaking serious last time I talked to her, you know? Like, you may have to set the foot down on your own parents, which is hard, right? Like that would be really hard for me. I had to set the foot down on my mom. My mom, so when our trip got canceled for Punta Cana, my mom still wanted to come here. And I said, no, you're not. I was like, you're not coming here. I was like, you're not bringing that crap here. I was like, you're not coming into this house. I was like, I'm sorry. And she was kind of frustrated with me. And I was like, Mom, I'm sorry. Like, you're not coming here. And she's like, well, I'll just drive instead of flying. I'm like, no, you're not getting in our house. I was like, I'm sorry. I love you, but no. You know, and I had to say that. And it hurt me to have to say that. But I was not going to sit there and worry about her driving. I wasn't going to worry about her in my house. I wasn't going to worry about her leaving. And so I had to set my foot down and step up into my own confidence and listen to my own intuition and speak my truth. You know, it's hard work, you guys. Like this is icky, right? It feels icky. That means we're moving in the right direction. Just so you know, that's all signs we're moving in the right direction. If it feels icky, if it feels hard, if you feel like you want to run from it, if you feel like you want to fight back with what I'm saying, you're moving in the right direction. Just letting you guys know. It's just like it's like 3 weeks of Transform 20. You got 3 weeks to go. You're in the thick of it. You're like, oh my God, I'm so over this, or I'm just in it, or like, oh, I'm dying. I still got 3 weeks to go. I'm not seeing results. Oh, should I just quit and try something else, or should I just keep and finish this program? You finish the program. Right? Have you ever finished a program and been like, man, I really shouldn't have finished that whole program? No. You go, damn, I'm really glad I didn't quit halfway through. Okay? Right now, we're halfway through. And it's icky. And it's frustrating and it makes your head turn. Keep forging through it, girls. Okay? Because the growth that's happening here is going to be beautiful. Okay? Right now, you've like planted a seed. So like think of yourself as like that, what is it, bamboo or bonsai trees? I can't remember which one. I get them kind of mixed up. But where they like plant it and they have to water it for like 5 years straight and it does nothing. And then all of a sudden it just like shoots up. So it must be bamboo. Okay. So, and then it like shoots up within like that 5 years and it shoots in like some like huge number on that 5th year. It just like grows all of a sudden. That's going to be you. Right now you are planted and you are watering your seed and you're not seeing anything. You're not seeing anything. And you continue watering and you continue watering and you know you're supposed to be doing the work and you're continue watering and it's frustrating. But I'm going to tell you there's going to be a moment where you shoot up. Not shoot up like, you know, like sorry. Never mind. You're going to grow. And it's gonna be beautiful, okay? Sorry, I keep laughing at myself for saying shoot up. So, okay, so you're gonna grow up out of that, okay? It's gonna happen. Keep doing the work. You're moving in the right direction. Regardless of how hard it feels, you're doing amazing work here. Okay. And it's good that we have to like work through it and be like, I don't get it. How am I supposed to apply it to this situation? How am I supposed to apply it to this situation? That's good. That's good that we're looking into it and saying, well, I have this situation. How the heck am I not supposed to worry about that? Huh? That's good. You're figuring it out. You're working through it. Bring it on. Let's work through it. Right? Like, I'm all right with a little confrontation, you guys. I'm all right with us disagreeing. I'm all right with us trying to, like, mind our way through this. That's part of it. I'm not going to just, like, give you all the answers and you guys just, like, frolic in a meadow with them afterwards and be like, I'm cured. That's not what's happening here, right? Like, I'm more like, hey, there's a big swamp right there. Why don't you trudge through it? And you're like, are you serious, Jen? I'm like, yep, go. Good luck. Here's some tools you need. Figure it out. Right? And it's going to feel super turmoil, you guys, but I just want you guys to remember you're doing such amazing work here. Okay? And be compassionate with yourself as you're working through it. Please. Don't beat yourself up because you don't have all the right answers, or because maybe you did end up worrying yesterday about something. You don't beat yourself up. You have compassion for yourself, because rule number 1 is do no harm. Non-violence to yourself and to others. Okay? Do no harm regardless. Find a way to diffuse the situation. It's going to be hard. Okay? But I have total faith in you. Each and every one of you have absolute faith that you'll figure it out. You have to have faith in your own heart that you're capable of figuring it out too. Okay? You have to have compassion and faith in yourself before you can have compassion and faith in others. Right? So give to yourself what you want to receive from others, because that will show other people how to treat you. If you have compassion and faith in yourself, that will show other people how to have compassion and faith for you. Okay? Treat yourself and others the way you want to be treated. Simple as that. We all learned that in like first grade, right? Treat others the way you want to be treated. Little did we know how much that was going to come back around to us as adults, right? Those little things that we're taught when we're young, like, they're so much more important when we're older. We just didn't realize it. Do no harm to yourself here first, okay? Love yourself here first. Then we'll start working on everybody else. Okay? All right. Brittany, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I just see your comment. Please share. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay. So I'm just all about how like feelings drive our actions. So like when we worry, we're like nothing good comes from it. And that's how like yesterday really resonated with me, because when we worry, we're not loving. And those are the people that need our love. So if we have time, I wanted to share a little bit from The Secret, because this is a feeling chart, and love's at the top and worries at the bottom. Can you all see it? So can I just read a little bit from it? Okay, it says, you can take any situation in your life and every possible outcome of that situation can happen. Any outcome can happen because you can have any feeling about the situation. A relationship can be a happy, joyful, exciting, satisfying, and every good feeling frequency. A relationship can also be a boring, frustrating, worrisome, resentful, depressing, and every bad feeling frequency. Any outcome of that relationship can happen, and the way you feel determines exactly what will happen in that relationship. Whatever feeling you are giving about the relationship is exactly what you will receive back in the relationship. If you're feeling joyful about the relationship most of the time, you're giving love, and you must receive love and joy back through that relationship, because that's the frequency you're on. And then it says a change of feeling is a change of destiny. So, and I just love that chart.
Can you take a picture of that and post it in like maybe the Challenge Accepted group or something like that? I can kind of see it, but I think I want to put it in my face.
Definitely. Absolutely.
I love that. It's the frequency, you guys. The frequency that you are on is the frequency you will meet other people on. I love that. Like, if you're meeting people on a frequency of love for yourself, love will come into your frequency and into your bubble. Okay? You have to give what you want to receive to yourself as well. Like, it's just as, you know, it feels silly, right? Like, some of this stuff feels silly, like, oh, I have to love myself. Sometimes I like to roll my eyes at it, you know, a little bit. I think that's just like the rebel in me a little bit. And I just like, sometimes like, oh my God, yeah, I know, love yourself, you know, make fun of it at first if you have to. But in reality, That's the truth. That is the bottom line. If you don't love yourself, how can you expect other people to love you? If you aren't on a frequency of love, other people are not going to love you. If you're on a frequency of worry and doubt, that's the frequency that's going to come into your life. Those are the people that are going to come into your life and feed that, right? They're going to feed that worry. They're going to feed that doubt. They're going to dump into it. But if you're meeting on a frequency of love and faith, those are the people you're going to start to attract. And you're going to notice the people that aren't on that frequency. So especially when you're making the shift, right? So when you're making the shift from fear and doubt into love and faith, you're going to have these people over here that knew you as fear and doubt. And they're going to be like, who are you? You're not who I used to be. Or I can't even talk to you anymore because all you want to do is be positive and da 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 da. And they'll try to yank you back over, right? They're going to try and yank you back over here because this is where they need you. And it's like, you're going to start meeting people over here though. And that's when I say, like, sometimes you got to let those people go. And I'm not saying for the rest of your life, but you maybe need to disconnect from them until they either come to this side or you are strong enough over here that no matter what they say, it's not going to falter you. Okay? So when I say sometimes you got to be willing to step away from people so you can focus on yourself, that doesn't mean that you have to leave them there forever, but maybe for right now while you're getting a grip on your own love, your own self-love, right? And then when you feel good and you feel ready, you can reach down and say, hey, I'm ready to come and bring you back into here. I'm ready to help you now. I feel strong in where I'm at, and I'm ready to have to maybe heal this relationship with you if you're interested. And there will be a telling moment, right? They'll either be like, oh my gosh, yes, please. Or they're going to be like, no, girl, you left me in the gutter, da, 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 da. And you're going to be like, well, then you know what? I'll be right here when you're ready. And if not, then I guess I made the right decision from the first place. You know, some people are only in your life for a season, you guys. Some people aren't meant to be in your life forever. And I actually really had to accept that myself when I came into coaching, because there will be people that come into my coaching, are challengers with me for an entire year, and then boom, gone. Never hear from them again. And I had to kind of be like, what? And I just had to accept that some people are here for a season. Some people are here because of a certain season. And once that season is gone, they just move on, and it's okay. And maybe you find somebody new to place in that. Maybe you don't. It's okay. Okay? So don't try to hold on to people just because they are who they are in your life. You got to respect yourself. Right? And so when we respect ourselves, then it'll make everybody else respect us too. And if not, then they got to go. They got to scoot until they can. Right? Because we respect ourselves enough to not have people in our lives that are going to affect my love and faith. It's not an option. It's unacceptable for me to pull myself out of faith to have this person in my life. Not an option. Okay? So, I love the work we did today. Woo! Goodness, ladies, I know. It's not fun, but it is fun. Like, it's hard, right? Whew.
Jenny, you said at the beginning, well, I'll just go ahead and record. I don't know if it'll be worth it, but I'll record. Girl, really?
I know. I was like, man, I wanted to kind of recap, and I didn't have anything planned. I knew something would always come up, but who would have thought that this was going to happen, right? But sometimes I love that so much more. I love the free range that we have here to just create it for however it happens. And I'm really glad that I record too, because man, this conversation needs to be shared, you know? And I think it'll be fun. What if we even rewatch this a month from now or 6 months from now? We rewatched our own video of us talking about worry, and then we can see where we're at. And we can maybe laugh at ourselves. That's what I'm hoping. I'm crossing my fingers that we'll watch this 6 months from now and laugh at ourselves because we were so into worrying. And then now, like 6 months from now, we'll be like, oh my God, we're so past that. We don't worry anymore. Like, look at us. Look at us all worrying about worry. We're so silly, you know? That's what I kind of really love about the Warrior Hours. I even went back and watched my very first one that I recorded compared to now. And I'm like, wow, we've changed so much just even in the 30 episodes that I've recorded. It's pretty cool. Yeah, that's cool. I actually, so I was thinking at the end of this month, if you guys are interested, maybe we would do that guided meditation again. I thought maybe at the end of this month, like it would be a good time because we've been about 2 or 3 months into Warrior Hour. So that's what I kind of thought is like we would get through all the like the little schedule that I made with like every day of being like sock day or something. And then maybe on the day where it's confident day, we do the guided meditation again. Just see where we're at. We'll just see. Cool. Ladies, I'm craving a group workout. Yes. Oh, hey, Becky, actually, we are doing, Sunday is going to be a group workout. If you guys, I'm going to do Warrior Hour, but Sunday is going to be Warrior Hour group workout. So Friday will be music, Saturday is yoga, Sunday will be workout. Cool. What's today? Today's Thursday, right? Today's Thursday? Yes. So then tomorrow's music, Saturday's yoga, Sunday we're working out. Okay. Or it doesn't matter what workout you do. So basically what we'll do is we'll come here just like normal. We'll all mute our things. And then you'll need a second device, most likely. You'll need a second device to play whatever workout you choose. And we'll just all work out together. So it's like having the group here, but we're all just doing our own workout over here. It'll be really fun. You can mute yourself or you can shut your video off. You don't want anybody looking at you. That's totally fine. But yep, you just do whatever workout you want. I totally understand if you don't want anybody looking at you. I'm always like dying during my workouts, but I push harder. I'm not going to lie. Like this is a true honest statement. I push harder when I know that there's a screen of girls that might be looking at me. And it does kind of help just a little bit to be like, oh, I'm going to do all these push-ups. So it's just kind of nice that you have the group there to be like a little extra motivation, a little bit extra accountability. But it's definitely fun and no one's judging each other, just so you know. Like no one's really staring at the computer because they're all dying by themselves as well. Okay. Awesome work today, ladies. I'm so freaking proud of you guys. I love the work that we're doing here. And I'm going to stare at my card all day. I am positive. I'm positive. Okay. We can do this. Are you guys interested? Will you guys take a quick picture for me? I know I lost a couple girls in the meantime, but that's okay. All right. Smile pretty. Elika, I got you doing cool guy arms. She's frozen. Okay, let me take another one from you, Elika, because I got you going like this. You're like this. And all I can think of was you being a CEO. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. All right, ladies, I hope you have a fantastic day. I will see you guys later on. Don't forget, coaches, we have a coach meeting tonight, and Tamia will be treating us to some awesome stuff. I'm excited. All right. Bye, guys. I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Mom, the phone's going away. Mom, the phone.